everyone, to a Friday edition of Bet. Tyler Fulghum here in Vegas. That is the homegirl Anita Marks on the East Coast. Through the magic and wonders of technology, we bring you together for this 30 minutes. And we're going to head into the weekend. We were off. We were dark on Wednesday. We're back here on Friday, but headed into the weekend, a full weekend of college football to dive into tomorrow. We will do that near the end of the show. We're going to have a couple of guests join us, Eric Moody and Andre Snelling, to talk WNBA postseason and, of course, the U.S. Open tournament that is in full swing in Flushing Meadows. But we, of course, Anita, going to get things kick-started by reminding our viewers, youtube.com/ESPN Sports Betting. Go there and subscribe if you haven't already done so, which you probably already had because you follow directions. We're going to start with the good word. We're going to flex our massive vocabularies. You know the drill here, Miss Marks. I say a statement with a wager in it. You tell me the first word that pops into your head with said wager. Let's start in the NFL. Right around the corner. We're less than a week away from the kickoff of the season Thursday night at SoFi. But if we look ahead to that Sunday slate, the Texans are the biggest dog in week one. Anita, they are an 8-point dog against a division rival, the Indianapolis Colts. So Houston as an 8-point underdog versus Indy. What's your good word?
So, first of all, I'm not flexing my vocabulary this segment, just forewarning you, number one. Number two, my word is giddy up. But I just realized you could use that word for both teams. But I meant to use it for the Colts. Like, I'll lay the points with the Colts. Why not? Listen, they improved their quarterback. We've been talking about it all off season with Matt Ryan. He's definitely a step up than Carson Wentz. You've got arguably the best running back in that backfield. They've got a top, let's be safe and say top 7 offensive line. I think Michael Pittman has a big season. I want him on all my fantasy football rosters. Nobody's talking about their 2 tight ends. These mammoth, like 2 tight ends. They're just ridiculous. I'd say top 5 defense. In fact, Colts defense is a defense I'm getting late in fantasy drafts. Meanwhile, for the Texans, unfortunately, really did not make a splash in free agency. Didn't do much to better that team. I think this is another rebuilding year for Davis Mills. So I'm going to lay the points. Giddy up, baby, on the Colts side.
You're right. I guess giddy up could apply because Houston, of course, is in Texas. I'm going to say dangerous, as in what you are so confident in, Anita, is dangerous. I think the Colts will win this game. They're certainly the better team, but the Texans are going to be a feisty squad this year. I think they are a team that is going to upset, straight up, outright a couple of teams that they're 7, 8-point dogs to. And with this being a division matchup, they know what Indy wants to do. I know Matt Ryan is new there, but Frank Reich and his scheme and his staff are pretty much the same on both sides of the ball. I think Davis Mills and Pep Hamilton is maybe the most underrated QB play caller combo in the entire NFL. I'm not saying they're elite by any stretch of the imagination, but if you ask the layman where they would rank that play caller and QB, it'd probably be 30th, 31st, or 32nd. I don't think they're that bad. I think they could be in the top 25 in the NFL. Mills showed me some things last year, so in a week 1 matchup against a division rival, 8 is too much. I think Houston is dangerous, so I'm going to stay away from that game. But if I had to put down $1, I'd actually do it on the Texans side. All right, let's drop it down to the college game, where I don't think an upset's going to happen with Alabama taking on Utah State. The Tide are a 41.5-point favorite against Utah State. Anita, what's your good word for that spread?
Yeah, dog. Again, not flexing the vocabulary here. Listen, give me Utah State in the points. They're not a bad team. In fact, I like the fact that they've played already. They beat UConn. Meanwhile, you got an Alabama team. Might they be looking ahead to Texas? Just might they? And their tight end might not play. So give me in the points. I will take the dog.
All right, Bark. She wants 41.5 as a head start. I don't blame her. That's a big number. So I'm going to say this again, not really a big word in the vocabulary, but I'm going to look at a kind of an Alabama special in the Nick Saban era. What about just the first half? Because laying 41.5 over a full game leaves the back door open because Alabama has Texas on deck. Would Nick Saban keep all the starters in? And granted, the backups are 4- and 5-star recruits that will be starters eventually one day. I understand. But in the first half, Bama's laying 27.5. So if they lead by 4 touchdowns at the break, which I think they can, I'm more inclined to bet Bama spread in the first half than the full game because they'll blitz Utah State early and then probably take their foot off the gas in the second half. So that's why I use half. Think about maybe the first half if you like the Alabama side, which I do, rather than laying that massive number over the full game where, Anita, I think you might have the value there with that back door open in the second half. Finally, let's move to the tennis courts, where Serena Williams is still alive at the United States Open. She got through her opening round match, then knocks off the 2 seed in the entire tournament, Annette Kontaveit, and now she is 14-1 to win yet another, I would believe, 7th United States Open. What's your good word at 14-1?
Tardy. As in, you are tardy to the Serena Williams party. Listen, I was in Vegas just a few weeks ago. We were all at dinner with Bear. What were we talking about? Serena Williams, 50-1? Man, hashtag run, don't walk. Get to the window. Lay that now. This is her farewell tour. This is the U.S. Open. Man, New York loves her. You can see it if you've been tuning in. She beat the 2nd seed. She's playing exceptional tennis right now. She doesn't go up against a real stud-et player until she gets closer to the semifinals. And as she said, man, like, she's got nothing to lose. Like, Serena Williams, there's no pressure here, right? Like, one would argue not the greatest tennis player ever to play, but possibly the greatest athlete, period, man or woman, to ever walk the planet. So what does she have to lose? She's just playing footloose and fancy free. How could you not put 50-1, man? You missed out. You were tardy to the Serena party. That's what I say, Tyler.
I agree. I think that makes a lot of sense there that you're tardy, because 50-1 is obviously much better than 14-1. But my word is emotional, because I still think you can get in at 14-1 with an emotional play. I don't even care about the math measuring that implied probability versus my believed actual probability that Serena can make the run. 14-1 is plenty to throw some beer money down on. $20 will have a nice return over $2,000. I think $2,800 at 14, or $280, I should say, at 14-1. That's nice. That's a nice $280 payday. That'll take you and a friend or a family of 4 out for a nice dinner. And emotionally, it's fun to watch Serena right now. Everyone at the U.S. Open Arthur Ashe Stadium is fist pumping like Tiger Woods when she hits winners or has an ace. Everyone's emotionally involved in backing Serena the GOAT on what is her final tournament at age 40. So emotionally at 14-1, usually I don't subscribe to emotional betting, but I think in this instance, it's fun and worth it, given the circumstances of what Serena is doing at the United States Open. So that is the good word. Let's continue the conversation on the hard court of the U.S. Open tennis tournament with our homeboy. Haven't had him on in a while. It is Dr. Oz Andre Snellings joining us here to break down the United States Open, both the men's and women's side. Let's start with that Serena Williams story, Dre, because it has been fun to watch through the first 2 rounds. She is now in the 3rd round. She's taking on Janovich and is a -160 favorite yet again. Dre, how are you approaching this particular matchup and how you would wager it, given what you've seen so far from Serena?
Yeah, based on what I've seen so far from Serena, I do expect her to win tonight, and I would bet as such. I've seen -2.5 games for Serena at -115. And I would bet that. I would give those games because that could still be a pretty competitive matchup. I'm not sleeping on Janovich. Like, she's made the quarters of the last 2 Wimbledons, and she just came off a quarter run at Cincinnati last month. So she's a solid player. But Serena, at the level that she's playing right now, as you pointed out, with the entire state of New York emotional behind her, she should be favored to get to this next round and keep the magic going.
All right, Andre, we talked about it just a second ago, right? It opened up at 40-1, then dropped to 30-1 after she won her first match. Now it's at 14-1. You're anticipating her to win tonight. If she does win tonight, right, she advances, she won't take on another seeded opponent until the quarters, which would be 2 more away. So knowing that, how would you play her? Would you play her to win the next 2 matches to get to the quarters?
I would. As you said, all 3 of the players in her current little bracket before the quarters, besides her, are unseeded. Actually, she's unseeded as well, which is kind of interesting. But she should be able to beat any of those players in a straight-up matchup. Again, she's at the end. She's got the mind of a champion, the heart of a champion, and the game of a champion. So even at age 40, I would expect that she should make it to the quarters. And if she does, could be really interesting because her first doubles partner this year, Ons Jobert, just won again today, and she could potentially be waiting for her there. So I would love to see that.
All right, Dre, before we get you out of here, kind of taking Serena out of the equation, are there any other ladies right now still left in this tournament that you are willing to take to the betting window to go all the way and win this United States Open?
I am. So for Wimbledon, I had a feeling about Jobert, and she took me to the finals. Coming into the U.S. Open, I have the same feeling about Jessica Pegula. She's another one. She's at 16-1 now. She's made the quarters of both the Australian and the French Open this year, and she's the highest rated American in this tournament. And so outside of Serena, who I think is still a fair play at 14-1, I like Pegula as someone that actually has even longer odds, but also has a really solid chance to win. It just feels like she's ready to take that next step. So I like her as someone that could do that.
All right, 14-1 on Serena and 16-1 on the American Pegula. Good stuff as always from our guy Andre Snellings breaking down the women's side of the draw at the U.S. Open. Enjoy your Labor Day weekend, Dre. Thanks for stopping by.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
All right, Anita, it is our turn to get back to America's favorite baseball game here on Bet. Diamond Dollars returns. It's been a minute, and it's been a minute because we have, like a month and a half ago, we were like sitting at 150, 170 bucks. I think we were well over what we started with, but it has been downhill in the dog days of summer because we have been betting like dogs. Anita, last time we saw you, August 22nd, that was a Monday. It did not go well, except for you did call an Albert Pujols dinger at plus 400 as he chases history. Well done there. I lost with a Cardinals team total, despite Pujols going deep in that game against the Cubs, I believe it was, at Wrigley Field. So I am well under $100 after being well over. You're flirting near 40 bucks, I believe. So we're coming near the end of the season here. It's the final month in September. We do have a full slate of Friday action as we head into the holiday weekend. Anita, for the viewers, let's see if we can get back on track. What do you have on the diamond for our Friday Diamond Dollar plays?
Yeah, no Cheesecake Factory menu of Major League Baseball bets for you tonight, Tyler. Sorry, not sorry. But look at what I'm working with, right? Like a little over $40. I am putting $10 on the O's. Why? One of the best teams in Major League Baseball the last 2 months. They've been 7-1 at home. They're fighting for that wild card spot, which you gotta love. Second best on base average, especially against left-handed pitchers since the trade deadline. And they're going up against JP Sears tonight, who is a southpaw. So, and on top of that, you got the A's. Their lineup is just absolutely horrible. What's really exciting about tonight's game, and if you have an opportunity to watch, it's at Camden Yards. And Gunnar Henderson, this is his home debut at Camden Yards. I lived in Baltimore for 4 years. I'm telling you, that place is going to be off the charts. So I've got Henderson hitting a home run at 8-1. I also got him hitting getting an RBI at plus 270. So I'm taking the O's, and I'm all in on Henderson. This is the next coming of Cal Ripken at Camden Yards. The birds are going to be out. They're going to be nuts, and so am I. So that's where my money's going tonight.
Yeah, plus 950 is the price now on Gunnar Henderson to go deep. We saw him do that in his first game up. So you have plus 950 and plus 205, I think, for an RBI. Obviously correlated. If you go deep, you have an RBI. I think you had an $8 investment in Gunnar Henderson, the youngster, that could return $46, I think, was the total there. So I will be pulling for that. Henderson so far has been good in the 2 games that he's played. Camden Yards should be popping for his debut, as he is one of the most exciting young players in all of Major League Baseball right now. I guess no Cheesecake Factory menu, because you can't quite afford to go to Cheesecake Factory right now and get a full meal, appetizer, entree, and dessert. I'm almost there. I'm going to adopt the Anita Marks kind of YOLO lifestyle here when it comes to Diamond Dollars. I have $75 left. I'm going to wager 2/3 of it, 66%, on a Marlins-Braves same-game parlay. I'm going to lean into the strong pitching we shall see here. Charlie Morton and Sandy Alcantara, okay? This $50 wager would return $146, and I need Alcantara to go over 5.5 Ks, and I need Charlie Morton to go at least 6 innings. That's 18 outs. I need him to get 18 outs. That'd be 6 innings. I need him to get through the 6th. Now, let's start with Alcantara. The Braves lineup, while being powerful, does like to swing and miss. They have a 24.5% K rate against right-handed pitching this season. And Alcantara, even though he's not like, Spencer Strider, who we saw strike out 16 Rockies last night, his K rate has steadily been rising. He's had 4 10 strikeout games in his last, or 4 10 strikeout games, I should say, in his last 10 starts. 5 have been over 7. Again, I think this is a great matchup against a Atlanta team that will swing and miss. So I just need 6 punties from Alcantara, who has been a Cy Young Award candidate all season long for how deep he's pitched into games and how good he has been. Then there's Charlie Morton. I need him to get 18 outs against the Marlins lineup. If you haven't been paying attention over the last month, has basically struggled to score 3 runs in every single game that they have played. The Marlins lineup is terrible. Against righties this season, the projected starting 9 has a WOBA under 300, a 132 ISO, and a 47.8% ground ball rate. They hit the ball on the ground and make it so easy for teams to just field and throw to first for the out. The Marlins lineup stinks. So as long as they continue that trend, I think we can get Morton to 6 innings, and I hope we can get 6 Ks from Alcantara and get a big win as we near the end of the season on Diamond Dollars. That's what we need tonight. Fingers crossed for Henderson to go deep and those 2 pitchers to perform well in that NL East matchup. All right, Anita, let's bring in another guest. None other than our good friend Eric Moody. We talked, of course, with Andre Snellings about the women's draw at the U.S. Open. Let's talk about the women on the hardwood tonight, WNBA Playoffs, with our guy Eric Moody. Eric, both teams that we discussed last time we were with you did as you predicted. They evened up the series. Let's start with our Las Vegas Aces here, as they are catching a point on the road against Sue Bird and the Seattle Storm, a total of 167.5. How are you playing this crucial Game 3 with the series knotted up 1 apiece?
You know what? My recommendation is still to bet on the Storm to cover. Now here's why. I think they're in a good spot because they were the number 4 seed playing against the number 1 seed, and they were able to split the series. Now we're heading home to Seattle. We're going to get some home cooking, kind of sleep in our own bed, and most importantly, we're going to be on our home court with our fans there. But also, Gabby Williams could return to the fold for Game 3. And she was a huge role player for this team in the regular season. She can contribute not only on the offensive end, but also on the defensive end. So when you bring all that together, I still like the Storm to cover in Game 3.
All right, Eric, odds makers are going back and forth here, right? Like after the Storm won Game 1, they were favored. Aces won Wednesday. Now minus 160 for the Aces to win. They're going back and forth. And it's interesting, though, they're favored even though 2 of the next 3 games are in Seattle. So how are you playing this series? I
am still recommending to bet on the Storm to win this series. They've been phenomenal at home during the regular season. You know, they're 13-5 at home. Then when you look at history, whether it's the Western Conference Finals or the Eastern Conference Finals or semifinals, the team that wins Game 1 in a best-of-5 series goes on to win 66% of the time. But this is a stout Storm team. They've got 4 former number 1 draft picks in Sue Bird, Jewel Lloyd, Tina Charles, and of course Breanna Stewart. This team is positioned for a deep postseason run, and given that wealth of experience, I would still bet on them to win this series.
All right, Eric, let's move to the other series, which again saw the series get evened up at 1 apiece. The Chicago Sky behind Candace Parker evened it up, a kind of dominant victory over the Connecticut Sun. The series now moves to Connecticut, where the Sun are a 1-point home favorite. How are you looking at playing this particular Game 3? And if you have a series prediction, please lay it on us afterwards.
Yeah, I would say for Game 3, I still like the Chicago Sky. So that's who I would bet on to cover the spread. It's like, this team is glorious, as Loki would say in the Marvel Cinematic Universe when watching this team. Like in Game 2, I'm like, they were operating on all cylinders. And it's glorious to watch because you got Candace Parker and those other playmakers that they have. So it's really good. But I would say I am very concerned about the Sun, and here's why. In their history, franchise history, they have played in 4 best-of-5 game series when it's been tied 1-1. They have lost all 4 of those series. Furthermore, when you look at the Sky, I'm like, they've been in that scenario where they've actually won 2 series, where it's been a best-of-5 game series tied 1-1. And those 2 series were won last year en route to their championship. And so they've got a lot of positive momentum. I would still bet on them to win Game 3. And Tyler, I know you asked about a series prediction. I still like the Sky in this series. I think they're going to win this series and move on to the next round, and we'll see what happens.
So Eric, last time we spoke to you, you said you could not put enough money down on the Storm to win the whole thing, right? Now they're 4-1, Aces plus 140. Are you still on the Storm to win the championship?
I am still on the Storm to win the championship. Now here's why. So Tina Charles is one reason. Her addition to this team wasn't publicized enough. Now, she only had 18 regular season games with the Storm, so 18 games. They ranked 4th in offensive rating during that time frame. Furthermore, we know that their defense is stout. They've been one of the top teams all year in defensive rating. But when you combine that along with the plethora of talent on this team and also the experience, I do like them to win the title, and it's a good bet, especially at these odds. But they want to send Sue Bird out. She's expected to retire this year at the end of the season, so they want to send her out with the championship. Her teammates, the coaching staff, the city of Seattle. So I think that's a cause that they can rally behind. So I would still bet on them to win the title.
Yeah, Eric Moody is going to weather this storm no matter how long it lasts. It's kind of like Serena at the United States Open, Sue Bird with the Seattle Storm, a final run. So, Eric, we appreciate you dropping by here on Talk WNBA postseason. Enjoy your Labor Day weekend, my friend.
Will do. You as well.
We will enjoy a Labor Day weekend that is chock full of college football action. Anita, let's go to the college gridiron. Look at a trio of elite marquee matchups that we will see over the course of this weekend and lay our best bets on the viewer. We're going to start with a game that actually takes place Sunday between the Florida State Seminoles and the LSU Tigers. Now, Florida State has played a game. This will be the season opener for Brian Kelly and LSU. The game is taking place at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. So you'd think, even though it's neutral site, a decided advantage for LSU there. They're installed as a 3-point favorite, got a total of 50. Anita, how are you looking at this Sunday night affair we'll see on ABC?
Yeah, I'm going to lay the points with LSU. I know, love or hate Brian Kelly. He's got a lot of talent on this team. This team is really good, and they're really deep. On top of that, quarterback Jaden Daniels, his weapons are ridiculous. Wide receiver, tight end, everybody's good. Offensive line is great. Their defense, one would argue, I'd say rank in the top 10. So I'm going to take LSU. I'm going to lay the points.
I'm going to do the same. I'm going to lay 3, given that they'll have, I think, a decided home field advantage at the Caesars Superdome. I think Brian Kelly, say what you will about his fake accent now that he lives south of the Mason-Dixon line. The dude can coach. All he's done is win, no matter where he's been at, Cincinnati, Notre Dame. Now he doesn't have to worry about some of the barriers to getting elite athletes down in Baton Rouge like he did when he was at South Bend. I just trust him more than I trust Mike Norvell. I know Florida State's already played, but that was against Duquesne. This is going to be a massive step up in competition. I think 3 is very reasonable. I will lay it with Brian Kelly and the LSU Tigers with this game taking place down in New Orleans. All right, let's go to another primetime matchup we'll see this weekend featuring another SEC squad. This one, the defending national champion Georgia Bulldogs. They opened their season in Atlanta in the Chick-fil-A kickoff against Oregon. So again, neutral site game. but a big home field advantage likely for Georgia in Atlanta, GA. They're laying 17 against their former buddy Dan Lanning and Oregon, a total of 54. Anita, how are you looking at this matchup?
Yeah, I'm taking the under here, and for a big reason. You just said the name, right? Lanning, now former Georgia defensive coordinator, now with the Ducks. And even though Mario Cristobal has made his way to the U, baby, where I'm from, he did not leave the cupboards dry, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So don't sleep on this Oregon defense. On top of that, Bo Nix against Georgia, no bueno, Tyler. 56% completion percentage, 1 touchdown, and quite a few interceptions in 3 games against Georgia. So I like the under here.
Yeah, once again, we are in lockstep here. I know Joe Fortenbaugh was the first one I kind of heard discuss this on Daily Wager, but I kind of ear perked up. I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Bo Nix, as you mentioned, is the quarterback from Oregon. If you remember him at Auburn, Anita, he would struggle, especially when he was away from his home stadium of Jordan-Hare, and especially against elite defenses. And I know Georgia lost like 9 guys to the first and second and third rounds of the NFL draft from their historic championship defense a season ago, but Kirby Smart has been doing some recruiting down there for a few years, so the cupboard is not bare. As a matter of fact, Lorenzo Carter, who is returning to Georgia this season, some people think he was the best NFL prospect on last year's defense. Watch out for that guy. I believe he's number 88 on the D-line. So there's going to be plenty of 5- and 4-star kids that are now filling in for the Devontae Wyatts, the Nakobe Deans, the Trayvon Walkers, who was a number 1 overall pick, the guys in the back end. I have no doubt that Georgia's defense will be great, and I shouldn't say no doubt. I have little doubt that Dan Lanning at least knows what weaknesses attack on Stetson Bennett, the quarterback. Say what you will about Bennett winning that national title, he's still not an imposing physical figure at quarterback. He's, kind of nondescript. He's not a guy who's 6'5" like a Justin Herbert was at Oregon, with a rocket arm. So Lanning, who was designing defenses against him every day in practice last year, likely knows how to attack Stetson Bennett and try to make his life a little less efficient than it normally is. So I'm with you. I think under 54 is a wise play here, given what Georgia's defense likely will be yet again, and the fact that Lanning probably knows how to attack whatever weaknesses Bennett and that Georgia offense may have going forward. They lost some talent on that offensive side of the ball, too. James Cook gone to the NFL. George Pickens gone to the NFL. I'm not saying there's not talent there, but Georgia's offense may take a couple of weeks to get going after they lost some talent to the National Football League. All right, finally, I think the game that most people are excited about or most curious about is a top 5 matchup. Number 2, Ohio State hosting at the shoe, number 5, Notre Dame, and they're 17-point dogs, the Fighting Irish. I mean, one of the most lopsided spreads you'll see ever in college football between 2 top 5 teams. Anita, how do you want to wager this one?
This might be a wager I might make each and every week, of course, depending on what the number is. But this Ohio State team, I'm going team total over. They should be able to put up at least 40 points a game, if not more, each and every week. Their wide receiving core, Tyler, one would argue, could be the best wide receiving core in the history of college football. They are going to score at will. Meanwhile, so my play is Ohio State team total over, okay? But keep in mind, I think how Notre Dame is going to try to counter them is running the football and also nice little short 3-5 yard eat up clock with their tight end Meyer, who, by the way, if there's any prop bets out there, they're not out there yet, but keep an eye. I really like this tight end from Notre Dame. Over receptions, over receiving yards. That's how I think they're going to try to keep OSU off the field. But it doesn't, they're probably going to score every 3.5 minutes. That's how good this wide receiving core is. So that's how I'm playing this one.
Hey, sister. We didn't call each other. We didn't text this morning, but our minds were on the same page. We're 3 for 3 in these college football bets. My exact play, Ohio State team total over 38.5. Now, I heard David Pollack on College Football Live yesterday say that this Ohio State offense could be the best in college football history. And I said, whoa, Nelly, not so fast, my friend. Don't forget what Joe Burrow and that LSU offense did a couple of years ago. But my point is, we know this Ohio State offense should be just absolute bonkers. C.J. Stroud, Henderson in the backfield, the wide receivers. I like them against a Notre Dame team that is probably outclassed in terms of athlete to athlete, especially when that offense is on the field against the defense in front of their home fans. So I like them over 38.5. I think they score at least 40 as well. Should be a fun weekend of college football, baby, no doubt about it. Hope everyone has a safe and happy Labor Day weekend. Big thanks to Andre Snellings and Eric Moody for dropping by. Anita, hope you have a wonderful weekend. We're dark on Monday because of the holiday, so we'll see you back here next week.